Someone once said that education is the great equalizer, and that is so profoundly true. In a state like Arkansas, where we have such a gap of wealth, we have some of the wealthiest people in the country, and we have some of the poorest, and particularly children. I just heard a statistic this morning that Arkansas has the second highest number of hungry children in the country, and that's devastating. But through education, a young child that is lacking, that is hungry, that is poor, can become elevated in their quality of living, in their education, and also in what they give back. And so education for me has personally been an equalizer. I come from a single parent household where my mother didn't make above $20,000, raised 5 children, and she always told us to, whatever we do, complete our education. And later, I went to law school, and she worked in maintenance at the federal building and also cleaned the courthouse, of all things. And so it was such an amazing contrast for me, and how ironic that one day I would practice in a courtroom where she cleaned. And that emphasized the role that we all can play. So even though she didn't have a college education, she knew the value of it, and she made sure, by God, that I would attain that. And I've lived a better life, and she has too, because of that. If we pass on the priceless gift of education, we can impact lives right now. This is an impact through mentoring and through being a positive influence in a young person's life. Think about the kids that are in classrooms today. We can't assume that they all have parents who wake them up every morning and feed them breakfast and encourage them and tell them how important it is to get an education, who work with them with their homework, who feed them dinner around the table like we probably enjoy. But through women who are committed, who volunteer, who mentor. And mentorship is so important because you're a constant in someone's life. I have mentors in my life, mentors in my church, in my neighborhood, who took me places when my mother was at work, who contributed to my college. And by doing that, all of us are able to improve our community, and we can begin that work right now.
A new study has highlighted what turns out to be a hugely important one: geographical location. For instance, a child born in poverty in Atlanta or Charlotte has roughly a 4% chance of rising to the top fifth of income earners, while odds of a similar climb for a child born in Salt Lake City or San Francisco are over 11%. It also found that geography mattered less for well-off children than for middle-class or poor ones.
Give me one reason to stay here, and I'll turn right back around. Give me one reason to stay here, and I'll turn right back around. Said I don't wanna leave you lonely. You gotta make me change my mind.
Now, it's true that not long ago, you could drop out of high school and reasonably expect to find a blue-collar job that would pay the bills and help support your family. That's just not the case anymore. In recent years, the high school dropout has made on average about $10,000 less per year than a high school graduate.
Within Los Angeles, the academic achievement gap between Phineas Banning and Palos Verdes High School, represented by the disparity between the Academic Performance Index, state rank, student graduation rate, and their parents' graduation rate, appears to have a direct correlation with the income gap between Phineas Banning and Palos Verdes High School, represented by the median home prices of the surrounding area. The achievement gap is primarily the result of inadequate learning materials, unqualified teachers, lack of parental involvement, and language barriers. The low-end schools suffer from these issues, as well as overcrowded classrooms and substandard buildings, and then lack the necessary funds to remedy the issue.
Said I don't wanna leave you lonely. You gotta make me change my mind. Baby, I got your number. Oh, and I know that you got mine. You know that I called you. I called too many times. You can call me, baby. You can call me anytime. You got to call me. Give me one reason to steer, and I'll turn right back around. You can see me turning. Give me one reason to steer, and I'll turn right back around. You can see me turning. Said I don't wanna leave you lonely. You gotta make me change my mind. I don't want no one to squeeze me. They might take away my
22-year-old
life.
Angelica Gonzalez always planned to beat the odds, to prove that a poor kid from the poor side of town could get her college degree. 4 years ago, she graduated near the top of her high school class and gained admission to one of the country's most prestigious schools. But despite her determination and hard work, she returned home after 3.5 years without her degree.
I thought that the difficulties were going to be having a challenging professor. I didn't think my challenge was going to be debating whether to go to class because I need to work. I didn't think that I was going to be so stressed out about having money to pay all my bills that I didn't write a paper.
As the gap between rich and poor continues to divide America, education is no longer proving to be the great equalizer. Instead, new research shows that lower-income students are falling further behind their more affluent peers in the likelihood of getting a college degree, an ever more necessary stepping stone to a middle-class life.